Mark, stand next to me. I need to see who is taller.
Okay, I am. Why do you care?
I am so sick of playing the back end of the cow in our real-life nativity play. The following podcast contains graphic descriptions of international celebrating and global merrymaking. It may not be suitable for angry or unhappy audience members. Listener discretion is advised. You've been warned.
Have you ever seen any of those foreign films? I don't like them.
Some are born great, others achieve greatness, and some watch Christmas movies.
Natale! We are the wild and crazy guys.
Well, they're both festive, aren't they?
Joyeux Noel!
And we are the festive foreign film fans. Well, hey, Mark.
Bob, funny I ran into you here today.
Can't believe it.
What are you doing here?
Luckily, we're here at the same time.
Planning.
Mark, I have to tell you, though, I'm really kind of nervous because tonight we're going to discuss Italy. And like a quarter of my family is Italian and half of my wife's family is Italian. And they are real Italians. So if I mess up at all tonight, you just take me out and, you know what to do.
All I can tell you is that when we did the Poland movie, it caused controversy on Sue's side of the family, not mine, because I'm all Irish.
But it is February and it's exciting. We are, 2 months into the new year, which is, wow, it's kind of crazy. And this is, and I didn't want to start the podcast off on a melancholy note, but I started thinking about it and I'm like, wow, now we're 2 months into 2024.
Yeah.
I can remember when it was 2000 we were looking forward to that. And now I'm like, normally I don't pay attention to time going by, but we have a podcast now, right? And so we get them out, our episodes on, 6th and the 25th. So I'm paying more attention to the passage of time, which, I'm like, wait, I used to be in high school. What? Now my kids are out of high school. Now I have kids. And I was thinking about you. Now you have grandkids.
I do. It's funny, right? Every phase, every so many years, you realize, wow, I just went from this phase to that phase. But every phase has been fun. I'll be honest with you. High school was a lot of fun. College was not so fun. But early marriage was a blast.
Come
right?
on, you were the slippery rock. You were having fun.
No, don't forget, I only went there short. That's only,
yeah, I know.
That is a very small part of my college career. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I try not to say, wow, look what I don't miss anything. Like I don't miss high school.
Well, let me ask, does this happen to you? You run into someone you haven't seen for a long time and you walk away and go, gosh, they look really old.
Oh, my God.
What happened to that person?
I do think that, but then I really want to know what they think after they run into me.
They're going, oh, my gosh.
Well, the best thing I love what people say to me if I haven't run into in a long time, whether it's people back from Pennsylvania or Delaware, it's like you haven't changed, and I take that as,
I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so I'm still immature.
yeah.
Like if somebody remembers me from the high school days and says I'm still the same, I'm like, yeah. So,
well, partly you're dressed up like a cherub right now for Valentine's Day, and that does look kind of babyish to me.
It's
a giant cherub.
Quite honestly, it doesn't take a lot to be Baby New Year, and then Cupid. Like the attire is the same. You just need a different color sash.
Are you telling me you've been wearing that for 5 weeks now?
I change.
Yeah, it's a bit nippy out there. It's a bit nippy. Well, I'm hoping. I'm looking at you, and I'm envious because I know at some point I'm going to have those little ones around, and I do think they add a whole element of, it's like, you're on another stage, but it's a great one. You know what I mean? And it almost, you're really reliving a lot of the things that you did with your own kids, even though they're not your, you know what I mean? But,
Yeah, I mean, the beautiful part about it is you just to get the focus on them, right? I mean, when we were having kids, you and Mariel having kids, you were busy keeping house and you had jobs and, you had to make sure certain things happened every single day. Now, when we visit the grandkids, it's like, it's just them, right? It's 100% devotion to watching them play, learn.
Which is incredible. And
it's fun.
And I think what kind of put me in this mode of thinking like this is tonight's movie. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Want to watch a Christmas movie? Christmas movies are our bread and butter.
We eat Chinese food and watch Christmas movies.
I heard it's the best Christmas movie since Home Alone.
So, Mark, the first thing is I have to thank you because I realized when we sat down for the show and I'm looking at the movie I'm going to talk about, which is Una Famiglia Perfetta from 2012, and I thought, oh, wait a minute. What does that mean in English? And luckily, my pal pulls me out of the fire and says, it's The Perfect Family, which so describes this movie. And I want to first talk about the actors and then really get into the movie because I think this one was an interesting one for me. The first actor we want to highlight, Sergio Castellitto. And I got to make sure I get all the emphasis right. And he was Leone. And Sergio, he's an Italian film director, actor, and screenwriter. And what's kind of nice about a couple of the actors here in this movie is they have been in some English films. So our listeners may have seen them. I mean, he was in theater and a Shakespearean actor and other dramatic roles. He started his career in 1983 and was in a bunch of television miniseries, but he was in Disney's one of the Chronicles of Narnia films. He played King Miraz in Prince Caspian, and he is our principal lead actor in this film. And then we have Fortunato, who is Marco Giuliani, and Marco, he plays the brother, Leone's brother in this film, and he was born in Rome, began acting on the stage. He didn't actually get into films until 1995, but since he's been in films, he won the Siak d'Oro, which is the Golden Siak, in 2012, and that means you're the personality of the year. So I kind of think of it as like the
People's Choice Award.
Yes, exactly. And it's an award given by the magazine Siak, an Italian film magazine, and they picked him as Performer of the Year. So for such a short time, pretty good, pretty well. And then Carmen, who I really liked Carmen in here, Claudia Girini. She was born in Rome. Her acting career she won Miss Teenager, then appeared in several commercials. It started out she was modeling Miss Teenager, appears in commercials. She's worked in Italian films and including some U.S. films. So this is like I said. So we've had two now. She was in The Poison Rose with John Travolta and Morgan Freeman, and then she was actually in John Wick. Chapter 2 with Keanu Reeves. And so because she also speaks Italian, but she speaks English, she's pretty fluent English, French, Spanish. So she's really good.
Yeah. Early on in the movie, you could recognize those few faces. And she is a very good actress, very, very beautiful woman who I thought did a really nice job in this movie.
And what's odd is I thought I recognized Fortunato, and he's the one in here. I couldn't find any English speaking films, but he looked very familiar to me.
Yeah, he does. He does. I can't remember when I watched it. I thought he looked like someone. Maybe I'll think of it.
Yeah,
during the
that's
podcast.
what I think it is. I think he looks like someone, an actor that we know. But and I wanted to say Carmen is Fortunato's wife, but she's also Leone's wife, and that gets into this whole movie. But the one thing is, first off, the soundtrack is great.
Yep.
U.S. Christmas songs. I mean, it kicks in with the most wonderful time of the year. And what you love is it opens up. It's this English or Italian villa, beautiful, has this huge spread. This family, they're all interacting. They're getting ready for Christmas, just what you'd expect of an Italian family. You got grandma, you got the kids, everyone's getting everything ready for dad, and they all sit down to eat, and it's I think you can tell it's the holidays because not only the food that they're making, there's a big Christmas tree, and the dad starts, as a dad would do, he's asking the daughter about her boyfriend, and they're laughing and all that, and again, warm, fuzzy feeling about the family until all of a sudden dad starts going off on the son because they were teasing him about being overweight, and he's a little chubby, I guess, and he has glasses. And all of a sudden dad's like, do you think someone that looks like that would be related to me, fat? And I mean, he's like laying into this kid, and you're like, wait, what? And then you realize that these are actors.
Right.
These are actors who are playing his family. The father, the individual who's playing the father, they're playing his family.
I typically don't read a lot about the movies ahead of time. Get a good little familiar with it. But even reading it, I really was like, wait, what's going on here? He's like, yeah, I don't even love you. And the little kid's like, but I love you, Dad.
Oh, didn't that just crush you?
Yeah, and I'm thinking and so the concept of the movie was immediately gone, and I'm thinking like, this has got to be the worst dad ever in the history of all mankind, who's telling his son he's fat and he's ugly and he doesn't love him.
And then it leads, which is this really funny part, because, and this I have to say, this movie is funny, it's serious, and it caused me stress. I have to say, I got stressed during it. But anyway, what happens is, so they call up Fortunato, who's playing, his role in this whole thing is to play Leone's brother. So he's supposed to be his brother. And they're like, we need another kid because he doesn't like the kid. So he calls his agent, I guess, and they get a kid called, they never even say his name. They call him the professional, who was in a Scorsese's film. Yep. But luckily, Scorsese's film took a break for Christmas, so they fly the kid in on a helicopter, and he lands, and he's in like as he describes, a tweed coat.
Tweed coat.
Yeah, with a briefcase, and he's ready for the role, and they're driving him and briefing him on what he's going to have to do and all that, and the funny part is, while this is happening, actually, the Leone, who's the dad, goes out and he's angry. He's always kind of uptight and angry, and he's sitting out by the ponds. And the kid, who he just laid into, goes out there and starts talking to him, and actually was really nice. And they started to have a moment. And you don't like my glasses? He takes his glasses and throws them in a pond. And I think all of a sudden he starts to like the kid. Yeah. And then this car pulls up. This kid dives out of the car, does a rolling somersault, and basically runs up and hugs him and says, "Hi, Dad." And we got son number 3.
Number 2. Yeah, 3. Yeah, 3.
Yeah, that's right. That's 3. So everything starts to get back together, and slowly things start to come out. Like the woman who is playing Leone's wife is actually Fortunato's wife.
Right.
And that Fortunato, the woman playing Fortunato's wife, was someone that he had a relationship with in the past, and they're all part of this acting company. So there's all kinds of drama going on between, as Leone is like talking to her like she's his wife, inviting her to take a nap in the afternoon. And she then is kind of having these private discussions with her husband. And what is a great feature of this film, and that's why I think I was thinking about time and all that, at some point she says, he's like, why did you take this role then? And she said, it gave me an opportunity to kind of see what my life would be like if I had married someone else and ended up with someone else. And that, I think, puts him aback. And then he's like, well, do you like it? And so there's a lot of drama going on underneath the surface. So it's humorous, but it's stressful as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kind of tension, right? Because, and I think there's tension too when people start to ad lib and go off script.
Oh yes,
right.
Yes.
Leone doesn't necessarily like, the freedom, if they will, because he's written out. And I love the one part early on too, where they show this thick book of the script. Right.
Yes.
It wasn't meant to be. What's that word when you the comedians sort of go on off script when they're on
ad lib.
Yeah. And so. There's tension that way too, and it's
but again, we don't know the script, so we don't know. So, but you can kind of tell when they're ad libbing. But you also see, and this is where you think he's being a jerk. He presses them on details,
right,
and they don't know what to do because they're like going through their head, like, was this in the script? Was this not in the script? And he purposely, it seems to me, putting them on the spot, trying to find ways to get angry with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To get upset about this. If you think about it, I mean, I'm marveling like this would be so incredibly difficult to do, and they are doing a tremendous job at it, because you, at some point, like you said, you fall into grandma feels like grandma, not an actress playing grandma.
That's right. Yep.
And I think the kids, even in The Professional, what I love about The Professional is you never know. I'm like, is he acting or is he responding to this family element? Maybe he didn't have a family, because at some point he really acts like a little boy, and I love that. But I'm like, wait, is he just a professional actor?
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's also too, you learn early on that they only get paid if they do a good job,
right, and
they finish the weekend,
yes,
or the day, or whatever it was, because that's where I think too he's purposely testing them, going off script to, I think, try to put them in a bad situation, almost maybe hoping someone quits.
Yes, right. And when you talk about ad-libbing, going off script, what does happen is, so they go into town, have a nice, and there's some of the drama going on, but on the way back, they find a woman whose car has broken down, and attractive woman, and all of a sudden Leone's like interested in this woman and asking her a bunch of questions, because you overhear her fighting. You don't know if it's her husband or her boyfriend, but he quickly figures out from the conversation that she's having a fight with her boyfriend who's married.
Right.
And they have a conversation about that. And he talks about, and this again becomes very insightful into his mindset and why he has to have a fake family and all that. And he's talking about her situation, and he says, look, if this is so fragile,
right,
like his marriage, your boyfriend's marriage, that he tells you he's going to throw it all away and come with you, but he's really not, and you're sneaking around that. He goes, if this is all fragile like this, I don't want this. You know what I mean? I don't need something like that. So, and then she starts to say, yeah, I'm going to end it because he's false with me and he's false with everyone else, which, as you know, this whole scenario is false that she's witnessing.
Yeah, I mean, Alicia, I think her name was. When Alicia comes into the movie, she thinks she's coming into a man and his wife whose brother is there with his wife at an Italian villa.
Yeah.
And they're going back to see the Leone and Carmen's family, so that's what she thinks she's getting into. And so, like you said, when he starts to sort of have this intimate conversation, like from her perspective, she's like, well, I shouldn't be talking to me. Like, you're married.
Yeah. And your wife is like right, in
Right
the other
there.
room.
Yeah, exactly.
And Fortunato is really like trying to get rid of her because this throws a whole wrinkle. Like he gets afraid what is going to happen, which starts to happen. Leads to one of the funniest scenes where I think he's starting to talk to her. Leone is starting to talk to Alicia like, I'm attracted to you. I like you. And she's like, oh my God, because he's invited her to stay the night because there's no car, it's Christmas Eve. There's no car repairs open. And she's like, at first, this is the perfect family. It's wonderful. And then he's starting to hit on her. To get away, she's like, I have to go to the bathroom. He tells her where it is. And she walks in on what she thinks is a brother and sister right in the middle of having sex.
Yeah.
So she's like, I got to get out of this place. Is nutty.
Yeah. Then later on, right, doesn't she walk in on then Fortunato and Carmen in the kitchen?
In a brace, yes. In a brace.
In an embrace, too.
Yeah.
So she sees the brother and sister having sex. She sees the brother of Leone kissing she thinks his wife, and she's just beside herself.
And then he tries to explain it to her without telling her what it really is. This is all that, but he's trying to say, well, she's my wife, but she's also Leone's wife, and he tries her out. So she goes sneaking away while Leone has Santa come. And then again, right away, it goes from this crazy, very touching scene where he gives each family member an envelope and they open it up and it's a card and it's really heartfelt.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And you're like, wow, this is so, again, like your emotions are buoyed up. They're going to church. Alicia has escaped and they're in like a little bus on their way to church. Everyone is singing Jingle Bells except Leone is not.
Right.
And you don't realize it. It seems like they're all happy at first, but then she's saying, Leone, what's wrong? He doesn't seem happy. And there's a woman hitchhiking and they pick up Alicia. So she's back in the family again.
It's like a horror movie, right? It's like you're getting away only to find the Texas Chainsaw Murderer finds you once again and is dragging you back into the scene.
And they go to mass. And again, I love just the swings in the emotion. So the kids are battling so now Leone has asked the professional. He's basically, the story has evolved to one son is adopted and one is his real son. And so the one he laid into at the beginning is his adopted son. Yep. And so now the professional is his real son. And he wants him to put the baby Jesus into the nativity scene. And in the script, it was supposed to be the other son who's angry. And so they steal the baby Jesus from the church. And then also, right in the middle of Mass, Leone decides to go up to address the congregation. The priest doesn't know what's going on, but I mean, they kind of give him the stage.
Yeah.
And he's like, basically, and I think he might even refer like, you people know who I am in town or whatever. You know me. What a horrible family I have. I've given them these great gifts and they got me nothing. And you're like, oh my gosh. And so then, he goes back, sits down, and the one son he's like, we're actors. Come on. So they're leaving the church and like, he's angry. Everyone's unhappy. The mass didn't go well. And the one guy goes, there's a public tree there, fake gifts underneath. Let's give him gifts. And again, a beautiful, they go through, they're all actors and they say, this is your gift. And he goes along with them and he plays along and he starts smiling and everyone's happy. Then they get back in the car and they're singing and it's going to be, it seems like it's going to be a great night. Go back to the house. Alicia is with them. And the Leone says, time to, I want to go to bed.
Right.
Come on, Carmen. And Fortunato, I know, is concerned, because he's having these questions with her and they're having these serious discussions because she also was like, why did you do this? And now I'm going to really explore this this whole role that I'm playing. Oh, and Alicia again had snuck.
She sneaks off again.
She had tried to get away because I think that's when she sees Carmen and I think she had seen them earlier, and then she catches them in the kitchen, and then she's leaving again. And on her she's hitchhiking, and on her way she gets picked up, and the guy, she's like, "Please take me. I have to find a hotel or something." And he's like, "Yes, I will, but I have one thing I have to do, a stop I have to make. I'm a doctor." And of course, he's back to the villa. She's back to the villa with the crazy family. Grandma, they're like, Grandma has died on Christmas Eve. They're all unhappy and all that. And Leone goes to comfort the boys, and Grandma wakes up. Grandma's not dead. It was all an act, and you realize it was an act. Fortunato wanted her to disrupt. He didn't want, because he was afraid his wife was going to have sex with Leone.
Yeah, because she even presses him earlier in the movie saying, "You're allowing so many liberties, him to take liberties with me."
Yeah. Taking
a nap, right? And going and getting dressed, and he buys her, I believe, a necklace. And so I think Carmen is sort of saying to Fortunato, like, fight for me, right? You're just letting me do this because you want to get paid for this acting role. So yeah, I think it's kind of romantic that he has Grandma die.
Oh, it actually is. And then he says to her, which you had indicated, all the money's on the line. If they leave, they get nothing. And they, look at all the stuff they've been through so far. And he's like, let's run away. And she's like, and again, another heartfelt conversation about marriage, life. And he's like, I want to go back to what we were before. I want to, and it's a couple of beautiful moments in a number of ways. Leone's watching this out the window. Yeah. He sees him put his suitcase in the car. He knows he's finally broken Fortunato. Fortunato's going to leave. Fortunato pours out his heart to his wife, like, I love you. Let's go. I want to go back to what we were. And actually, the woman who was playing his wife, who he had an affair with, she has a conversation with him after Carmen goes back in the house and says, look, I'm quitting this troupe, and only because I was always pining away for you, waiting for you to leave your wife, because I thought you were an old, tired couple, and I had an opportunity with you. But guess what? When you did that with Grandma, and I sat in the chair and I overheard Carmen talking to Leone, heard you, I realized, no, right. You're not an old tired couple. You love each other.
Right.
I have no faith. I have nothing here. There is a great twist at the end of this movie that really made it for me, but I don't want to share it. I think that's a spoiler, but just know that it's a really interesting story. And if I were to say, as we've described this, Christmas is definitely like, it's almost like a part of the stage drop. It's just it's on display, but it's not really about Christmas. But if I were to say to you, is this a festive film?
I would say it was, and just like you said, it was the backdrop of it. And I think Leone brings it together because he's trying to put together the perfect Christmas Eve, the perfect Christmas day, right, with the perfect family. But I think just the scenery itself.
When they were at that, like, the market or the Christmas market,
the Christmas market, so I think it's the Christmas music plus the scenery. Like, I think you have this sense of the holiday.
I think this is incredibly festive.
Yeah,
I think the whole discussion of life and relationships and family and love, they do such a wonderful job, but they don't do it. It's not, and I don't want to disparage a Hallmark film, but you know what I mean?
Oh,
it's
no.
Not like it's not in your face,
obvious.
It almost seems, for a performance of a family that's fake, rediscovering family and love, it is, yes, festive. How does it make me feel? Like I told you, I found it stressful, and I have watched it twice, and the second time I found it stressful too, because they're performing, but he's also, putting them on the spot and blowing up, and they're having their own dramas with each other. But does it pay off? I think absolutely.
Yeah, I wasn't stressed, but I was very intrigued with the screenplay and with the acting. I found myself trying to anticipate what the next move would be or what the next twist in the show. But I would say I laughed more than I cried, I would say I was more intrigued the whole time than anything else.
Well, and that's another thing we should say, is that this is you could almost say, oh, it's one day and a bunch of actors playing. What happens? A lot happens. They put a lot in here, and like you said, I laughed. There's so much. You enjoy it, but you also, it makes you think. I really, so when I think about like future, I'd love to watch this with like Mary Ellen and go, because I think it's really a fun, interesting, introspective movie to me. And I'd recommend it two ways. One is I love the story, and I love the how they made it, the twists and turns that make it interesting. But also, I think it's a great, I haven't been to Italy. I thought it was a great testament to Italy. I'm like, gosh, I want to go there,
Yeah,
I want to go and steal a baby Jesus.
That was funny.
Oh, so fun. Well, Mark, I think I got to teach you how to say Merry Christmas in Italian.
Okay.
But I think, if I recall, going back a few months, I believe when we watched the Italian, our special Christmas Carol show, I think you said Merry Christmas to me in Italian, because I think you've been there. So, Mark, it's Buon Natale.
Buon Natale.
You see, my relatives are going to love your pronunciation. Yes, it is. That's wishing someone Merry Christmas in Italian. They say Buon Natale. Buon is a short form of the word bueno, which is good, bueno. And this is the standard word you use. And you may have heard it like they will say buon anno, which is Happy New Year, or buon compleanno, which is happy birthday. So you hear it other ways. So let me tell you a little bit about some interesting things that they do in Italy, some customs that they have. Now, this is some of the other places that we've been, like you have been exposed to some of the Polish traditions. Mm-hmm. I've been exposed to some of these, but some of these are almost a little more mainstream, like this first one. You talk about dessert in Italy. There's kind of this national battle debate of which is the right dessert. And, one is pandoro and the other one's panettone. And the panettone, you see them here in the States everywhere too. And a lot of people have made them part of their holiday tradition. But they're considered, these desserts are the heart of the Italian Christmas. Pandoro is from Verona, and it's a star-shaped soft bread covered in powdered sugar. Now, panettone is from Milan, and it's the Italian version of a fruitcake. So both have very soft dough, but panettone is softer, but it's more dry. It's definitely drier. Pandoro is more spongy. I've had panettone. I've not had pandoro.
I've not had pandoro either.
And I think we have, and Mary Ellen has her family, like her Italian family has a big party, and there's always a panettone there. Not pandoro, but panettone.
They both sound good. What's really interesting too about a lot of these recipes that we see in all different cultures and stuff, that the fact that they're really basic ingredients, right? Yes. With maybe a little spice here, a little spice there. So like cocoa butter. But, I think about how often these recipes that are passed year over year, that they're wholesome, right? They're based in tradition. And while there's new ways to whip and I don't even know all the things you do with cooking, I see all these devices that are in kitchens now. In the past, it was just eggs, flour, sugar, stirring, kneading, and then throwing it in the oven, and it's just, I don't know. Like, I just think the most basic foods are still the best.
You're absolutely right. And it's fun to see how similar some of them in all of the various countries that we look at. In Italy, they also have the world's largest Christmas tree. Now this is interesting because you might say, well, wait a minute, the world's largest, is it still growing or whatever? This is a different kind of tree. They take the slopes of a mountain, and it's Monte Egino. It overlooks the medieval town of Gubbio. It's in Italian Central Umbria region. So it's not a real tree. It's a tree that they make out of lights on the side of a mountain.
Oh my gosh.
The heart or the star of the tree is the basilica at the top of the tree and at the top of the mountain. And then they have 700 lights and they have 300 green lights, and then the interior is 400 multicolored lights. And it's almost 2,500 feet tall.
Oh, my gosh.
And it's topped with a giant star. And the Guinness Book of World Records in 1991 recognized it as the world's largest tree. But it's almost a drawing of a tree and lights, but takes up a whole mountain.
I'm going with the Guinness World Book. That's a tree to me.
Yeah. Now this one, the next thing I want to talk about was in the movie. So many Italians like to play a game like bingo called tombola.
Yep.
And in the film, and it's a really funny scene because the younger boy is calling it bingo, and Leone throws a fit and says, "No, it's tombola," and he walks out. But the other thing, and this is how you know it's customary, as part of when Fortunato's trying to tell them how to play the scene. He's like, you know what always happens. Someone always knocks their beans on the floor. Someone's always asking, who has this number been said? Somebody's always calling bingo before, or whatever, tombola. So you know that it's part of everyone knows what they're talking about.
Yeah. And
when Leone walks in, they say every single thing. Someone knocks the beans over. It's very funny, very funny. But yeah, they also play some card games. One is called Marcente and Fiera, which is the merchant, and Fiera or Briscola. These are all games that on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day they'll play, and they're very family. They get grandma, grandpa, young kids. These are all for the whole family to play these games. And then last, we're always curious about what is Santa Claus in the various places. He is Babbo Natale, which means Daddy Christmas. But aside from Babbo Natale, we've also heard that in Italy they also have La Befana, who is she's a kind witch. I've heard the story different ways. Witch, I've also heard it was a woman or an old woman who the kings on their way to see Jesus stopped by. She's cleaning her house and because they're kings and they ask her to go with them, and she chooses not to go with them, and then later on decides, I should have gone to see, and supposedly then now she's always out searching for the Christ child to bring him gifts, and comes to your house and brings gifts. And she will usually come on the Epiphany on January 6th. Again, this is always a common theme. Good kids get the candy, bad kids get the coal.
This calls for some Christmas music.
Yes, this Christmas music.
What kind of Christmas music is that?
The least you could do is play some Christmas music.
And now back to Christmas music.
Well, you want to hear some Italian music?
Yes.
Dello zenzero, Natale allo zenzero, presepe allo zenzero, tanti auguroni allo zenzero, stappare lo zenzero, brindare allo zenzero, gridare fortissimo zenzero, dolciumi di zenzero, canzoni allo zenzero, bianco Natale di zenzero.
Now, Mark, this song, the great thing about the Italians is there were so many songs that we could choose for this show. In fact, I don't know if you remember when we were looking at Iceland, we struggled because a number of the songs from Iceland were Italian songs that they
That's
just
right.
changed for Iceland. So this one, there was a classic song from the 1700s called Tuscande del Stel. That was one. A Natale Poi. That was a advertising jingle that has become a big song. There was a Mazzanette about a woman who wants to give her boyfriend a midnight Christmas gift. I thought that might be a bit risque. And Bohemian, which is a young couple struggling at Christmas time. And that was interesting. But this one, and I think you agree, we both hit on this because it's really funny in the fact that the song is from 2005 and it's a salute to Ginger. Ginger is for Christmas. And it's so ironic in its, how much it celebrates Ginger to the point where it says, Ginger, after all, is the true fulcrum of Christmas. Not the crib, not the baby Jesus, but Ginger. And then it exclaims, best wishes to Ginger, uncork the Ginger, toast to Ginger, shout loud, Ginger.
You know what Brian's gonna get for Christmas? That's my son, who's a ginger.
Who is a true ginger. This is a salute to your son.
Yeah. It's funny. It's a great song, has great beat, but like when you sent the translation, I was laughing.
What I was thinking is, could you imagine the video with like gingerbread men dancing around?
Don't leave out the ginger.
So, Mark, my question is kind of going back, and this is, I think, a perfect question for you because you and Sue and your family, because you guys are good. You like playing board games, and you're really good. I find this whole concept of involving games with the family during the holidays was a great thing, and like Mary Ellen's family, so the Christmas party used to be on Christmas Eve. Now it's not, but even when it was on Christmas Eve, they play bunco, and it's a big thing. Everybody plays bunco gifts and all that. So, again, a big game. I always have, and it just developed when the kids were small, but I've always made a game for Christmas Eve and usually involves stuff, either, trivia or stuff about them when they were young, or Christmases from the past and that. But I'm wondering, are there any games that you guys play at the holidays, or even on top of that too? Do you know other people, like your friends?
I mean, I think a lot of our friends do. And I would say too, you're shortchanging the audience about. I've seen some of your trivia games that you've put your kids through. Also, Bob did a fundraiser for an event in his community that was based on trivia, Christmas, and others, and they're a great question. So I'm sure your family, your friends have had a great time listening and trying to figure that out. I think, didn't you used to take pictures of certain places too and say, figure this out?
A couple. It was so popular the first year I did it twice, but I took one of those plastic baby Jesuses and would take pictures of baby Jesus in different places, and they had to figure out where he was.
I didn't know it had
like
baby
at the
Jesus
ski
in
hill
it.
or at
messing
the
with
castle.
baby Jesus. But anyway, to answer your questions, we do love to play games. I think it's actually one of our favorite times of the year to play games. We also like to play games on vacation. I would say our go-to game, and I'm going to try to tell the story quick because I know we're pushing time today, but our favorite game to play now is called the Salad Bowl game. A little backstory on it. The first time I ever played that was at my neighbor Joy's house. Joy, if you're somehow listening and wherever you are, we love you and miss you. But Joy invited us over to the house, and she starts describing this game, and she divides us up. And so on my team, the first time, it was a team of 4, was my neighbor Joy, my neighbor Pete, myself, and All-Pro Hall of Famer linebacker Mike Singletary from the Bears.
No way.
So Joy's wife and his wife were very good friends.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, he's a Hall of Famer. He's on my team. He's going to be intense. And he was, but in a fun way.
Did you win?
We did.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And so, so it's a little backstory, but we love that game. We play it all the time. We've introduced it to friends, our family out east, and to some of our friends local here in Cary. And it's just a really fun game that you don't need anything other than a bowl, somebody with a minute timer, and just a lot of creativity.
You know, and Mark, this is what I love. I remember first time going to you and your and Sue's house, and you suggested it was a big party with a bunch of people, and you suggested a game that we should play a game. And I'd never been really kind of in a party environment where and it was so fun, and it, people that don't know each other very well become to know each other. So it's a great tradition. I love that. I know we have to move on, but I hope people listen to that game and borrow it. And I think we will. We'll try that because I like it. It's a lot
of fun.
It is. So I am going to leave you with a quote. It's an interesting one, and it's kind of involves this whole concept of our podcast moving from country to country. Christmas to a child is the first terrible proof that travel is hopefully better than to arrive, meaning that the expectation of Christmas can be better than the actual day itself.
That is awesome. That is so true. Wow.
Yes.
That's a great quote to end this session.
Mm-hmm. And I want everyone to know where we want your input. I'd love to hear some of your games that you may play. I'm always looking for new content and new ideas, but you can email us. We're on Twitter. We're on X. We're on Instagram. We have a merchandise store now. You can buy things in Linktree. If you look up on Linktree, then you can find all of where we're at. That's a place that you can have all of our socials. So, Mark, gosh, I want to say, arrivederci.
Buon Natale.
Yeah.
Actually, we're done.
Done.
It's over. It's over.
It's over, kaput, finito.
It's over. It's over. Over.
This has been a Waysound Studio production.
And sound engineering on our show is by Jake Fontana.